You guys barbecuing or anything for this holiday weekend?
I don't know quite what we're doing this weekend. My wife is going to Connecticut and meeting my mother-in-law there because that's where my father-in-law is buried. And so they're visiting his grave and they're spending some time up in Connecticut with my mother-in-law's old friends from where she used to live before she moved in with my sister-in-law in Georgia. So they're taking like a 6-day road trip before she comes and spends a week with us. So,
Nice.
so they're doing that, and then my son, daughter, and I will do something, but we're not sure exactly what. We'll probably grill. So,
Yeah. Lark, do
yeah.
you grill?
I do, but I need propane because I used it to kill weeds because I got a weed burner because I like the word weed
Oh.
burner.
That's cool. That sounds really cool.
You have a weed burner?
It's just basically a torch on a stick.
I'm coveting.
So I got it off freaking Amazon so I can kill the weeds because oh my gosh, the dandelions and morning glory were so bad this year. And it just nothing was killing them. I was trying Roundup. I was doing everything but salting the earth, and they kept coming back. So I'm like, fine, you know what kills roots? Fire. And guess what? They aren't coming back.
Is anything coming back?
Well, yeah, grass is starting to grow there again. Grass likes the ashes, so
yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, well, why don't we kick this off, everybody? Welcome to the Loose Screws podcast. I'm your host, Roy Cookson, and it's the 333th episode for the 22nd of May, 2026.
33
Wow.
This week, I'm joined by Commander Dr. Bloomingwind.
Hello.
And Commander Larkshade.
Amazon weed burner sounds like I went and got high.
I know. That's why it's cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into the show proper tonight, we want to pause for a moment in honor of Brick, Commander Dr. Bloomingwind's beloved dog, and the Loose Screws mascot, who unfortunately passed away since our last show. He was, first and foremost, Bloom's companion, but he was also part of this community, and we feel both his loss and deep sympathy for Bloom. Let's take a moment of silence in his memory.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you for that. So, for the community, Brick was my beloved Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. He lived almost 13 years. And as y'all may have heard me mention a few times on the podcast, over the last 2 years, he's developed an enlarged heart, a leaky mitral valve. Cavalier King Charles Spaniels are prone to leaky mitral valves and developed congestive heart failure. And so we had him on a whole host of medications, and he was doing well. But, you know, he was beginning to kind of show his age, developed a cough in recent weeks. That cough was...
How old was he?
He was 12 3/4. He was almost 13. His birthday is August 18th. So he was probably about 4 months away from his 13th birthday. So anyway, so he had developed a cough, but he wasn't anywhere at that stage. You know, when you have a pet where they get sick and you're like, we're thinking about it's time to put them to sleep. And, you know, honestly, the way he was, I mean, we're honestly thinking he was about 2 or 3 months away from that. But we've been traveling every weekend. That's why I haven't been on the show the last few weeks. A few weeks ago, we moved my son out of Auburn and watched his cousin graduate from there. And then 2 weeks ago, we were visiting my daughter at Ole Miss and watched her graduate from there with her master's degree. And then this past weekend, we all went up to Cleveland to watch my other nephew get married. And after the rehearsal dinner Friday night, I received a frantic and hysterical call from the pet sitter. She had gone out to dinner and came back from dinner and found him unresponsive on the kitchen. And he had passed while she was out. It wasn't unexpected. Any dog or even a person with this condition can pass suddenly. As devastated as I was, as devastated as our whole family was, I was really talking
Like
the pet sitter off.
Sucks, but not surprising kind of thing.
Not surprising, but I was pretty much calling the pet sitter in off the windowsill. I mean, I was trying to let her know, listen, this is not your fault. I thought we had warned her that this was a possibility because every pet sitter we interviewed for each weekend that we were away, I said, listen, he's got a heart condition. If something happened, if he passed away in his sleep or something, don't be surprised. It's always possible, but we're not expecting it, but it's possible with his condition.
Right.
And so I took the first flight back Saturday morning, skipped the wedding, got here pretty quickly. And she had taken such great care of him. She she bathed him, she wrapped him up in a towel, placed him in a very respectful place in our garage, and then I took him to the vet to have his remains cremated, and they'll be ready for us tomorrow. But Brick was a really, really special dog. I mean, everyone's dog is a really special dog, but some special dogs are more special than others, and he was one of those special dogs. He never met an enemy. He loved everybody. He was truly, truly a really friendly, outgoing dog. His older sister, Lady Jane, was a little bit more reserved in who she was friends with, and she was a hunter. I used to call her Artemis sometimes because she would just snatch birds out of the air and find rabbits' dens.
Oh gosh!
And, I mean, she was a beast. I mean, she was an utter beast. But he was like, "Oh, you're hunting? That's cute. I'm sitting on a lap." I mean, he was just phenomenal. His parents, Shaky and Tara, were champion dogs, and
at dog shows or
dog shows. At dog shows,
nice.
I mean, they both had American Kennel Club champion status. Not anything like they won Westminster or anything like crazy like that.
Yeah, but still, that's awesome.
Yeah, but they were champions. But most notably, his grandfather, through his father, Alfie Bow, was the winningest whole color Cavalier King Charles Spaniel in the history of Britain. So, his grandfather was like the Quitsack Hatterack of Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. He was a black and tan. I knew that breeder essentially through social media because, Brick's father was imported from England, brought in from England by his breeder. And Brick was really special in a lot of ways from the beginning of his life. He was a singleton. He was conceived through in vitro because I don't know what the deal was with Shaky and Tara, but I think they needed a little help. And he was delivered by C-section. Absolutely spoiled by our main pet sitter when the breeder was bringing him up, and the breeder wasn't sure if he wanted to show him or not show him. He was kind of on the fence about it. And one day he called me up and he said, because he's down in Franklin, Tennessee, not far from us. He called me up and he said to us, hey, I've been thinking about Brick, and I'm not sure if I want to show him or not, but I don't think we will. So I want to place him in a home, and I want him to be with you guys. Partly because we're 20 miles away, and partly because we treat our dogs better than we treat ourselves, and lastly because his sister was there. So, we said, sure, absolutely, we would love to take him, and so we made arrangements to adopt him. And when we were picking him up, like when we picked up Lady Jane, when we filled out the contract and everything, there was all this stuff about you have to get the dog spayed and you can't breed them and we'll sue your ass if you get, the whole thing.
Like legitimate breeder stuff.
Like legitimate breed. I mean, these guys were top notch. And so I'm like, okay. So with Brick, I'm like, okay, when we fill out all the paperwork, I was like, he's a boy. How old does he need to be before we neuter him? And he said, bring him by in 4 months. I'm not sure if we want to do that. And so, I mean, he was so Kurt was thinking long game that he was potentially going to show him and, breed him, so, I mean, he'd be our dog, but, we'd send him down to the old bunny ranch and let him get lucky a few times with the little girl dogs, however that works, But, and that was, I guess, when did we adopt him? Was it October? It was October. And then, late November of that year, I got a phone call from our pet sitter. She's like, Kurt's sick. Like, what do you mean? She's like, he had a really bad headache and earache and meningitis. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure they got some antibiotics on board and he's going to do great. She's like, no, he's sick. Get to the ICU. And I'm like, holy shit. So I go to the ICU, met his parents for the first time. And I'm like, bro's dying. Like, I just walked around like, holy shit, our breeder's dying, and, it was like this whole thing. And so he sadly passed away at the beginning of December. I mean, I was there when he passed, and, became close with his parents, became close with his husband, and then, friends with them ever since. And, and then we've had Brick, and Brick's awesome. And then Brick came along to the squadron with Chig Chat. So we have a section of our Discord and a section of our segment of our show that we used to have when it was sort of like a potpourri section, and Chig would talk about the dog pictures that people were posting, and we'd have Cheese of the Week and all these other fun kind of segments on the show. And so we were posting our dogs. And Chig became absolutely obsessed with Brick because Brick at that time had lost his eye. And so you have this one-eyed crew cut, because he always liked a short haircut, one-eyed buzz cut cavalier that looked like he was all out of fucks. And
he always did look that way. It's true.
Yeah. And Chig was just absolutely obsessed with this dog. And so at that point, Teflon was playing around with Midwinter AI. And Nurgle was as well, and they did some mock-ups and things like that. And he became adopted by the squadron. And I mean, I just remember, the outpouring of affection for my dog, and of course I did because my dog's awesome. So we, he kind of got baked into the Loose Screws lore, and I mean, I just, when he passed, I mean, just the outpouring of warm condolences from everyone in our community was nothing but comforting and appreciated. And, I'm very grateful for that. My whole family they couldn't get over how many people who they had never met before that I play a video game with, had such love and affection for my Cavalier. So, yeah, so that was my week, and, kind of sucked quite a bit. It's sad because like I don't have him sleeping with us anymore. Like he used to kind of like just curl up on me and sleep next to me and all those kind of things. Just be a general pain in the ass getting up at 4 a.m. to go to the bathroom and have breakfast and his diuretics, because we needed to get his diuretics on board so that, his good getting all the pee out would happen. So I mean, for like the last year, he and I have been getting up at 4 a.m. together and, doing our, making sure his heart failure regimen is going strong and all that. And it's just like weird sleeping in and all of that. So, but he's in a better place. He's with his sister. He's not suffering. So I take solace in that. And I mean, almost 13 years is a hell of a run for a Cavalier. So, and the other touching thing that happened was when I posted his obituary on Facebook, Kurt's parents reached out to me because this was like just another piece of, Kurt that has passed away. So it was a little bit sad for them that
Oh, that's
his last dog that he bred before he passed, finally passed too. It was like sort of a closing of another chapter for them. Like I said, they're wonderful people, salt of the earth. Paris, Tennessee. She's a librarian. He was a school teacher. He's retired now. Absolute solid, salt of the earth people. So, yep, that was my week out of game.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing Brick with our community, and thank you for that remembrance of him. It's special for sure. Anything in game?
And yeah, I've been I've been working on finishing up 3 projects in Blooming Winds Folly, because at that point I think I will have enough Type 2 credits to build an asteroid base, and that's going to be one last tribute. Not one last, but one more tribute to Brick. Spoil these. There's never going to be not tributes.
Right.
And so Brick Memorial Station will be an asteroid station in the system affectionately called Blooming Winds Folly. Look for us to start working on that project once I finish the bases I need to kind of get finished to get those points. So hopefully everyone will come pay homage and visit the station. And
well, I'm sure you'll have no shortage of willing hands to help build it as well.
100%.
I need CMM composites and steel people.
Excellent. All right, Lark. Anything to share on your week?
I've had an extremely boring week, and on top of that, I can't freaking follow that. So I'm going to break the tension with something that actually happened, because when you said, let's just have a moment of silence for him, as soon as you finished saying that, my carrier was going out of hyperspace, and the commander just laid into the horn right then, and I freaking lost it. I'm glad my mic was muted, because holy crap. It's like, just have a moment of silence. Oh, frick. Anyways, yeah, sorry. Little irreverent. That's just my dark sense of humor. I apologize.
Brick would want that. Brick would want that.
Okay. Yeah, it's all good.
That's it.
Anything
This
else?
is the first time I've been in game for like 2 weeks. I've been taking a little bit of a break unintentionally. I'm trying to get back into it now because I miss flying.
All right. Let's see. In game, I logged in my main and alt long enough to deliver a couple of tons of aluminum and titanium. But otherwise, pretty busy. Been spending the little bits of time I have in RimWorld. Had another colony started there. In real life, I've also been enjoying time with my youngest son, who's back from his freshman year at college. I'm introducing him actually to the original Star Trek movies. And I'm kind of surprised because he's enjoying them, even the first one. I didn't realize this, but I guess Paramount made some updates to that first Star Trek movie since it came out, if you weren't aware. And they're actually pretty tastefully done. This isn't like a, Star Wars Han Solo stepping over Jabba the Hutt's tail kind of nonsense. It's actually pretty good. And he thought it was a great movie. And, he's seen when he was growing up, I'd shown him over the years, maybe a couple dozen of the original TV series. So he knew, the characters and everything, but we'd never really gotten around to the movies. And I'd never really felt a big, I don't know. I love Wrath of Khan and maybe Star Trek 4, the one with the whales, but I never really thought the others would stand up, I guess. But apparently I was wrong. He's really loving them. So that's fun.
You know who directed the first one, don't you?
Remind me?
Robert Wise. Do you know what his other big, great, and I'm probably skipping a few, but what one of his other big, great movies he directed was?
No, what?
The Sound of Music.
Oh my goodness, really?
Really. He directed The Sound
That's
of Music.
Wild.
Yeah, I mean, and you can kind of see, the between its glacial pacing and sort of a lot of the sweeping shots and land, and
Yeah, yeah.
spacescapes. Like when Kirk is approaching Enterprise, it's a lot like sort of the opening scenes before Julie Andrews appears. It's just that he's just is coming in and showing the entire Alps, and really there's a lot of you taking in the scenery and taking in the backgrounds that he brought to Star Trek from that.
That is so interesting.
Those scenes approaching the Enterprise became so iconic that Lower Decks even made fun of it during its run.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I saw it in the theater, and so when it came out, and I mean, I don't know how old I was, 7-year-old, whatever. I mean, I'm like, can they get to the ship already? But it was stunningly beautiful.
I've seen stuff written about that particular sequence as well, and you got to realize there was people who, at that time, all they'd ever seen was the original series in the 60s. So it had been years since anybody had seen anything Star Trek. So
and it was
to take a few extra
to
minutes,
show off their new effect.
Yeah, to take a few minutes to show that off, I think was okay, and it works. It works. I didn't go back and sort of figure out all the little edits and things they've made, and they put I'll say there was a little bit of tasteful CGI that was put in, and it really helps the story move along. It's that scene with the ship feels okay because it's drawn out, but there's other parts that I think they tightened up a bit. So it works. It works what they did. So I would hardly recommend it if you had only seen it, in the theater or many years ago, checking out the new version, the new sort of remastered version of that.
I would also say that the search for Spock is very underrated because the scene where they steal the Enterprise is so good.
Oh yeah. That is really good. Yeah. We just finished that one. We're going to watch the Star Trek 4 next. So one of my favorite.
Yeah, I love the whale one.
Yeah, it's really good. I think it competes as being one of the best with Khan. All right, let's go into Squadron Briefing with Bloom.
Incoming priority message.
Squadron Briefing.
Alrighty, as people continue to do colonization and trailblazers, the number of systems which the loose screws expand into continues to grow. We're now on 423 systems. I think that's up from 421 last week, but we control a whopping 130. I have no idea what that's about. Since we're so busy with so many things that, conquest of colonies has not honestly been one of them. So either other people
haven't actually done BGS in a while, so that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, either people like our brand or somehow there are people just expanding out of our space and just taking us as the controlling faction with them. And either way, we thank you very much. There's a public holiday in KZ Andromeda. You can probably sell ore and minerals and metals there for a good price. There are booms in our strongholds of Maikoro and NLTT 2969. NLTT 2969 is a half-decent mining system. So for those who do power play for Liang Rui and are looking for merits, mining in that system and is a great resource. There's a bunch of unexciting wars and elections going on. We do have a couple of systems, Piscium Sector LY-Q A5-2 and NLTT 52560, which both need a little boost in influence. And NLTT 52560 is our foothold in Gromunus space. Our friendly Gromunists control that system, and we're happy to let them do it.
Nice.
Yeah, no, we're in there. We've been in there for a long time, and loose screws. And a long time ago, we took a couple runs at control, and the Gromunists said no, and we kind of got the memo.
Right.
So we're just happy to be a minor player there at this point in the game. So that's our BGS update. Anyone has any questions about stuff to do in BGS, let us know, and we'll point you in the right direction in our Discord.
All right. Thanks, Bloom. Let's go over to the short PP report with Lark.
This is the short PP report.
Target shields offline. Target destroyed.
It's average, so get your facts straight.
It's not short. I was in the pool. In the pool. I mean, sorry. So cycle 81. So Kaine actually had another big week. And this is all courtesy of Kruger. And Kaine had another big week. 16 exploited systems, 2 fortified, 1 stronghold for a score of 0.4 on Kruger's math. Antal was second as to the week with 7 new exploited systems and 2 strongholds. And Delaine was third with 2 exploited, 1 fortified, and 2 strongholds. The pirates getting it done. There must have been ale there. Duval had 11 new systems and 2 new fortified. Sorry, my carrier's jumping right now. If you can hear that, I apologize.
No, it's not coming through. You're good.
Okay, good. Duval had 11 new systems and 2 fortified. Li Yong Rui rounded up the top 5 with 5 exploited, 1 fortified, and 1 new stronghold. And everyone's favorite shadow president, I might remind you, shadow president, not even actual president, is coming in 10th in this cycle, 8th overall with 6 new exploited systems. So they actually didn't do that bad. And
Yeah,
if you
everyone was
need
positive this week, you know? I thought that was a good thing.
If you need any more info, go ahead and visit www.k5elite.com. That's where all his spreadsheets, math, and general nerd stuff are. Or you can join our Discord and ask him yourself.
Okay. Thanks, Lark. Dev news, not really any real dev news this week. There is a massive store sale going on. I was looking through it today, and it's just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. There's too many to count. It looks like maybe every cosmetic
Memorial
in the
Day
game
sale
is on. Yes, I think that's maybe they don't call it that because I don't know why, but bobbleheads.
They call it
paint
Decoration
jobs.
Day there.
Do they?
I don't know. I
wasn't
don't
sure.
speak English, so I thought they called it Decoration Day, and then
Remembrance Day.
a Remembrance Day. Okay,
Well,
'cause I was
that's
gonna
in
say decorate
November,
your ships
though.
on Decoration Day.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure we're gonna get a correction from Alec or somebody.
Well, anyway, there's all kinds of bobbleheads, paint jobs for both old and new ships, and SRVs and SLFs, on-foot weapon skins, covas voices, on-foot outfits, nameplates, banners, even fleet carrier stuff. So if you got some marks burning a hole in your pocket, now's the time. Lark, how about the Galnet news?
All right, and Galnet. Oh my gosh, I just remembered. I have a real life. Sorry, I just remembered something that happened to bring up in my actual life.
You could reach back for it if you want.
Indulge us.
It's just real quick. Sorry, I got a truck. I finally got rid of the Rio.
Okay, what'd you get?
I got a 2020 Chevy Colorado with
Nice.
only 8,000 miles on it.
Oh, that's wow, that's a
And
catch.
even with interest, we're going to end up paying 12 less than what brand new trucks are going for in Idaho, which is one of the most expensive state to buy a truck.
Oh.
So I am very, very pleased with the deal we got.
Yeah, that's a great find. Congratulations.
I'll
that's
fix it later.
fantastic.
Sorry, just popped back into my head. It's been,
That's okay.
you know.
We're always
Anyways,
open for automotive news.
right. In Galnet news, on the 21st and 19th were the only times we had an update this last couple of weeks. And the first one on the 19th was that Jacques Station was celebrating the 10th anniversary of his historic jump that he totally meant to do and ended up where he meant to go. And I'm sure it wasn't put there by Thargoids at all. And on the 21st, Luman Starport returned to full operation. I don't know if Operation Ida had anything to do with that. I like to think they did, but that's good that it got cleaned up so quick.
Yeah, I think the cargo racks had something to do with that.
Yeah, right. Seriously. And that's pretty much it for Galnet.
All right. Well, let's move on to our discussion topic. Since we're recording this on the Friday night before Memorial Day weekend, and since this has been a quieter week for Elite Dangerous News, we're going to keep tonight's discussion a little shorter and lighter than usual. So I'm calling this segment "Campfire Stories from the Black."
Oh, let's go.
Instead of digging into BGS, power play, or anything too operationally spicy, I wanted to use the recent 10th anniversary of Jacques Station's missed jump as a jumping off point for something maybe a bit more reflective. Elite has produced some truly legendary community stories over the years. Jacques, Colonia, Distant Worlds, Beagle Point, Salome, the Gnosis, the Thargoid War, and plenty of smaller stories that only matter because players were there. So tonight's campfire question is simple. What makes an elite story become a legend? And can the game still create those moments? So, to the crew, what's an Elite Dangerous moment, event, or community story that feels legendary to you? Who'd like to go first?
I'll go ahead and go. Because
Okay.
I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit because, man, I needed time to prepare for this question, even for a lighter one. Like racking my
for it.
memory now. But the first thing that pops into my head is this, oh gosh, I can't even remember the commander's name. But this poor sod who was flying his Anaconda, and he goes to make a jump, and then suddenly everything starts to turn green. He's in witch space, tumbling around, gets thrown back violently out into normal space. And from the right side of the ship, coming up from underneath him, is the very first time we see a Thargoid in the game.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that is just burned into my memory because I was only barely starting to play Elite at that point. And I must have watched that YouTube video like 500 times, man. I was so jazzed about it. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go fight the aliens. And I think I had like a keel back at the time. Like I wasn't freaking doing anything. But it's still just, oh my gosh.
That kind of feels like the golden age of lore development in the
Right.
game, you know? I'm not sure if more recent events can compete with that. Bloom, did you have any memories of anything around?
Yeah, I
what
mean,
you
I
thought was
think
legendary?
for me, I think, I mean, it was already baked into the game. I mean, it wasn't anything novel until somebody discovered it. But I would say Jameson's crash site is probably one of the peak legendary sites in the game. So, I mean, I played Elite 1984. We were all
Yep.
Commander Jameson in that game. And it was the default commander name.
See, that I didn't even know. So
Yes.
Yeah.
And you flew a Cobra Mark, I believe it was a Cobra Mark II is what it was. And it was the only ship you could fly was this one ship. And you could kit it out and do things like that. But, you know, you yourself would get pulled into witch space and then end up fighting Thargoids back then. And like the first time it happened, I was like, holy crap, did I break the game? You know, I mean, it's like, it's just, you're like, what is this
you
thing?
don't know, right? It's
Yeah, and how do
pre-internet.
I-
There's you can't read up on it ahead of time.
Yeah, and then how do you get back to where you know, so you end up to hitting you up killing the Thargoid, and then you end up hitting an escape pod because you're all out of fuel because you jumped to, you know, you were expecting to jump somewhere, you now you can't jump. And then other times somehow I think I was able to jump back. It's been a while, so I don't exactly remember the ins and outs and how I got back to a base or anything, but it would scare the crap out of you the first time it happened, you know? And so then, you know, this idea of this Commander Jameson was sort of a legend, so that when you go to his crash site and you hear a story, it's very touching. It's very moving, especially if you have children of your own. So, or if you were a child once,
Yeah.
you know, because his last thought and his last word to his child and how much he loved them and how that his child was the greatest thing that he created.
Oh.
So it was very moving. And on that note, also, our beloved Jello Wiggler. So if you ever go to Colonia, on the way to Colonia is Evelyn's Light. And Evelyn's Light is a neutron star that shines very brightly, not far from the civilized area of Colonia, and his daughter Evelyn loved flying with him when he played. And FDev graciously chose to memorialize her by putting a post, putting a what do you call those things?
A beacon?
Signpost or whatever.
POI.
Beacon.
Yeah.
A beacon in the Evelyn, and naming the system Evelyn's Light. And so visiting her site was very special and very moving to me because we did it during Distance Cruise 3, and I was convalescing from kidney cancer surgery. And so, visiting this site that was a memorial to a girl who faced a much, much, much more severe diagnosis than I faced was pretty touching to me. And I still have, my ship's picture from that site parked on my fleet carrier, and you can see the light from her star shining on my ship. And I think it's a really beautiful shot, but I'm going to break my arm patting myself on the back for that shot. But, I think that's a different kind of legend in this game. I think that, the fact that FDev, acknowledges some in-player events, whether it's, memorializing, the child of, a gamer, or some crazy thing that happens in game and they just end up acknowledging it, like the witch hunt. Like Psykit wasn't going to put up with salvation, so she went on a crusade and got a whole bunch of people to be on a crusade, basically purge Salvation as much as she humanly could from the BGS, putting his people in a box, and that made the news too.
What do you think?
Some of the legends
to both of you.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, what do you think separates a true legend and elite from just a thing that happened in the game? Like, what's some of the characteristics of it, would you say?
I think the characteristics, at least to me, are that when you ask someone about it, or just some moment they remember that's not personal, like maybe like a community moment, it's something they could come up with real quick, like I did with the first Stargoid sighting, the first time someone was ever hyperdicted. And that's I don't know. That's just what it is to me.
What do you think, Bloom? What do you think is the threshold for something being legendary in this game?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely something that you bring up not about yourself, because we all do cool stuff in game, but when someone else did something so cool that other people are talking about it, that's something that is a legend. With the fuel rats, they put on, they rescue people, and there was this one person that jumped somewhere that was nigh impossible to get to. And somehow they planned this, and I think it took like a couple of weeks for them to get out there and get all the logistics done.
He had jumped to a very far system and then literally had flown towards another system in normal space until he was to the point where he was about to run out of fuel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he wasn't
very
just in
difficult.
that system. He was way out there too. And I think it was to try and get as far away from the galaxy or farther away from the galaxy than anyone had ever been. He was trying to set a record, I believe is what it was.
Yeah. And then he ran out of gas. And,
Yep.
and that made some video game news magazines. That story. That story made it to the internet. So that's one of the player-driven incidents that I think ends up being legendary, because it says something about the community where you have this group of people that's willing to bail this guy out. When, dude, it's a video game, self-destruct. Okay, you made your point. I would be kind of jonesing for my game if I'm like, I have to wait a week for these guys to get here and I cannot play the game just because of some carto. Yeah.
Okay, well, kind of in the spirit of, thinking back to what Lark brought up about the first Thargoid encounter, and how it seemed like there was a period in history within Elite where they were finding a bunch of new stuff for the first time, and Canon Research was very involved, and others as well. And it felt like new things every month. Do you think legends are harder to create in the game now because of how how optimized everybody's gaming is, or how much more informed everyone is, or maybe less easily surprised? Do you think it makes it harder now for things to be legendary?
I think I don't think that's the reason it's harder to have things be legendary right now. I think the reason it's harder to have those legendary moments is because stuff's progressing at a much slower pace, it seems. Like it'll be a little sprint and then a very long jog, and then a little sprint and then a very long jog. Whereas before, it was just running. As far as like a difference, you see what I'm saying? I don't know if I
You
just
think?
that well at all.
No, that's fine. What do you think, Bloom? Is it harder now for them to create legendary things happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think like when you look at the Thargoid War, for example, there were some great moments, but there's not a lot of situations where I'm like, do you remember X per se? I mean, I think the attack on Earth was a bit legendary because everybody flocked to that because they knew this is the last one of these that it's going to be before the end game. And I think
Maybe
everyone was excited about
the first Titan, maybe as well, because we
Yes.
didn't know exactly
Yeah.
what was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So those were probably some special in-game events that happened. And also I think when Salvation fired his weapon and it was a big dud. Because that was like the one time in this game where there was this massive cinematic. Like there are very few cinematics in this game. And that was sort of a special moment where I think everybody, basically stopped and said, we're going to watch this. And then, the Titans were set in time. The first Titan was, my wife and I were going to go out to lunch, and I said, we're waiting to go out to lunch till this Titan explodes. And she's like, what? And I'm like, we're watching this together. And so we watched it explode, and then we went to lunch. It's like, that's a pretty starfish. And then boom. And then, and then each Titan, each Titan, I don't think I saw every single Titan, but I mean, I participated in the destruction of every single Titan. But like, and the last one, it was like, but I'm watching this one too. And so that was some destination video gaming. So, but my son conditioned my wife to it because when he was little, he played a lot of Fortnite, and they would have these end of season events. And so, we were trying to make sure we're building our schedule around that too, where it's like, okay, we got to be home for this. Okay, sure. So my son got her used to the idea of it. So when I did it, it wasn't as crazy as it sounded. So I think some of those events kind of that they did. But I mean, one thing I would like to see is more player-driven legends, so to speak.
Well, let me. You're kind of leading into the last question I wanted to ask.
Oh, you're so good at this. I'm terrible.
I've got a wrap up around this. I want to share some of my thoughts around a legend. But what do you think Frontier would need to do or avoid doing if they wanted future events to become legendary?
Oof, that's a loaded question. You are too good at this, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
So what are the elements they need to enhance or avoid, do you think, that makes these things legendary based on some of the stuff we talked about? The things that make it legendary,
is, at least to me, is there has to be stakes. Because like Bloom was saying with the Titans, he didn't watch all of them explode. He did watch the first one. So did I.
Yeah.
But the only other one besides the last one that I watched explode was the third one. Because that was the one that was like maybe 20 light years outside of loose screw space during the war at its peak. Okay. And so there was very real stakes for me in that one, and it made me really personally invested in seeing that one fall.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, there was absolutely a tension there. When the 8 Stargoids landed or hit their final destinations, I mean, the loose screws, we kind of freaked out because we're like, hey, they're on our door, and if they're expanding, they could be expanding into screw space. And that was something that we absolutely did not want to have happen. And, with our coming off of our high from the oops all gold, when we won the Thargoid, the contest, one cycle, it was just one of those things where it's like, not on our watch. Are they going to come into screw space? We're going to take the fight to them. And I think, as Lark said, with the stakes, the beginning of the Thargoid War, the stakes were not only high, but we weren't winning. Like the game mechanics to actually make progress weren't even introduced, really. It was just they're going to expand. There's nothing you really freaking do about it to start. And then they kind of loosen things up, and then they kind of put the mechanics in a little more clearly. And then they started introducing technology that got more people involved. And then, then they kind of, because certain people weren't going on foot to get certain things that they needed to do some things in space, they kind of loosened up unlocking certain items in order to certain weapons and certain defense items to allow more people to participate. So the stakes kind of trickled down as they wanted to push the narration forward, rather than completely rely on the community to say, okay, well, if you want the bubble not to burn, it's on you. We're going to let it burn. They did kind of loosen it up. So it did decrease some of the tension towards the end. And with so many systems that needed to be cleared, I think there was a certain element of fatigue with that. So if they were going to do something new, I think what they would need to do is, as Lark said, something with high stakes, but we also have to discover it ourselves. And we also have to maybe get some hints here and there, but really try to figure it out ourselves. I mean, we have a great problem-solving community in this game. I mean, there was like a puzzle, a few years ago, and it involved fake traffic reports. And these fake traffic reports in these systems led to you coming up with a matrix. And then I don't know if you remember matrices from, calculus class or pre-calculus class, but they're like this mathematical thing. And, there were people doing these creating these matrices from these traffic reports and then doing like an inversion, like an inverse function on it or something in order to have the key to decode something. And this was all done while I was at work. So like I'm at work, I have a full day in clinic. I'm seeing patients and I'm like kind of looking at Canon between patients. And by the end of the day, I'm like, holy shit, these sons of a bitch solved the whole damn thing in a day. So whatever puzzle or whatever hint, they drop, there people are going to solve the problem. So I think there's got to be an element of, we have to figure it out. It has to be player driven. And also that there have to be high stakes. And then even that it may not necessarily be winnable at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as a hobby writer, I feel like I need to clarify the stakes don't even, at least for me, the stakes don't even necessarily have to be high. Like it doesn't have to be, the universe is ending every time like Marvel tried to do, and which is why they're not nearly as popular as they were since Endgame.
Yeah.
The stakes just have to be personal somehow. Like it has to hit you as a commander of, oh shoot, I need to help with this because XYZ and it affects 3 and 2 and whatever. You know what I mean? The stakes don't necessarily need to be high. It just needs to be personal somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's well, thank you. It's interesting that you've both come up with answers that overlay in a number of ways with the answer I was going to give about, what do I think is legendary in this game, and why the elite legend that I would put around the campfire is the search for Raxla. Now, when I say that, I mean, it's. I was thinking about this as I was writing these questions, and it occurred to me like it's become so what. I don't know if we just take it for granted, but it's like there's still a whole community looking for Raxla and has been for over 11 years. And it's so my point is it's not so much Raxla that's the legend. It's the community that has built an entire mythology around it for 11 years. I would say it has a a lot of ingredients that I think would contribute to it being legendary. One is the old school lore. It goes all the way back like to 1984. In the book, the novella that came with the original game, it's a mystery that apparently nobody can solve after this much time. There's serious research that's gone into it. There's wild theories, long-running forums, YouTube speculation, BGS experiments, exploration science, and I'd say at least a little bit of madness. Like if you start looking through some of the forums and Reddit posts, or if you've been here through the whole history of the game, you'll know that there's a long line of let's say Raxla hunters, and this is also where I think this maybe merges a bit into Community Corner. I'd call out Macros Black and the long-running quest to find Raxla forum thread. I was looking at that today. It started in 2015. It's over 2,000 posts, and the latest one, there's people posting in it today. Like, it's not a infrequent activity thread. If you're at all interested in Raxla, that's a great one to look at. I'd say that's like a big public campfire for the mystery. I'd also call out Milo Green Ranger and the Great Raxla Potato Hunt. So they were doing something very systematic and almost scientific, you could say, scanning, mapping. I think they were looking at every system and body within, I think it was 200 light years of Sol, which is a lot. A huge survey effort. I'd give a shout out and kudos to my old pals Kai Zan and Commander Wolf Dragon for the Turning the Wheel initiative. So they enlisted hundreds, if not, I don't even remember what the final count was, if it was even a couple thousand people, pushing the Dark Wheel faction out of Shinrarder Desra toward potentially lore significant systems to try and trigger something perhaps around the Raxla story.
I have a question about the Dark Wheel, if you got a sec.
Sure.
Do you think they've traded in their black DBXs for black Mandalays?
I hope so.
That's a serious question.
Yeah, it's apparently, so some of the stuff, just to go down a little, look, this is supposed to be a short episode, so I'm really resisting going down like 15 different Raxla rabbit holes, but just
go down the rabbit hole.
Just one would be, there used to be missions that the Dark Wheel would give you out of Shinrarder Desra that don't exist anymore. And I think someone was even writing in one of the forums I was seeing, I think you might have had to have the founder flag, like the founder, by flag I mean you were one of the founders from the Kickstarter, to get those missions. They don't exist anymore. Don't know why. They had posted a response from FDev when they had inquired about them, someone who had seen them before, and it was a very sort of cryptic and short message from FDev about, they're just not there anymore. So I don't know what that means. And there's also just a long list of people who over this time period have kept the lore, the theories, and the public conversation alive. Several of the ones, and this is by no means a comprehensive list, but several of the ones I found in perusing through this is Blue Crash, Corfelian, PD Jazz Hands, of course, Drew Wagar, talking about the whole history of the lore. If you recall, Down to Earth Astronomy did some videos on this. Obsidian Ant has done them. Our friends at the Burr Pit have done ones before. Commander Guru 951, somewhat controversially, I love his videos. Some of the stuff around Raxla is so far out there. People making connections between, like he did, music and the history of things that the original founders of the game have talked about in conversations and interviews. And then finally, more recently, Matthias has a bunch of great videos about this. And then maybe finally, canon research, I would say more broadly, even if they're not, or when they're not specifically quote unquote Raxla hunters, they're so central to the culture in Elite of just investigating mysteries, as you had touched on, Bloom, like a new puzzle comes out and it's solved by lunchtime kind of thing. And then I guess finally I'd mention our own association with Professor Awan. And even though he may not necessarily publicly identify as a Raxla hunter in the narrow sense, I would say he has educated so many explorers, including me, on the intricacies and the really interesting quirks of the galaxy map, the stellar forge, just how the galaxy itself in this game is structured. And I'd say the broader point with that is that there's so many people that are hunting mysteries, whether it's Raxla or something else, that are standing on that kind of shared knowledge. So kudos to him and to Canon. So my conclusion would be that Raxla is legendary not just because it has or hasn't been found, but because the search itself has become such a part of Elite's culture, and it's still going on. Even though maybe there's, just like I said, there's a list of people that keep talking about it, but if you're not, like we all play a different game, and some people, this is the game they're playing. And I would say it's one of the best examples of players making the galaxy feel bigger and deeper than what the game maybe explicitly tells you on the surface.
I would also say no one ever found a significant discovery relogging getting mats. I'm just going to leave that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. Like what game are you playing? Yeah. So, all right. Well, for this eve of Memorial Day weekend, I think that's all we've got, unless you guys have anything else you wanted to bring up.
I am gold. Ooh, crystals.
Ooh, nope.
You're good?
I'm good too. No, I think we've
Okay.
kicked this pig.
All right. Well, thank you, Commander Dr. Bloomingwood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commander Larkshade.
Squeak!
If you'd like to chat with the crew and join in on the fun, you can find us at Loose Screws or loosescrewsed.com. You can find a link to our Discord there. We have a Patreon used for supporting our community. So thank you all for hanging out with us. And on this eve of Memorial Day weekend, a special note of gratitude for the sacrifices of the men and women in the armed services and their families. So until next time, stay loose and screwy, Commanders. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Love you.